For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand? The word wrath has a certain connotation that for most brings up a picture of extreme anger regarding our Creator. Then tradition, along with the carnal imagination, adds to this picture. And before you know it, the unconditional love of our Father goes out the window for the narrow-minded and prejudicial love of the self. Perhaps we forget that God's thoughts and ways are far above our own. Or perhaps we see so much conditional love in the world around us that it's difficult to perceive that the Lord's love is nothing like this. Consider what we read before Revelation 6:17. Calling to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who is seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Though Christ is clearly the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the great day of their wrath involves the Lamb, not the lion. Strong's defines lamb as a lambkin, in other words, a little lamb. This word is found 30 times in the King James New Testament, 29 in Revelation. Here's a portion of what Stephen Jones wrote regarding the spiritual meaning of 29. 29 is the number of departure. This being the last number of the series of 20s, it depicts a change from the covering of one's house into something new. Also, because the number 9 has to do with the judgment of the Holy Spirit, the baptism of fire, it is preparatory to the number 30, which is about dedication to rulership. The idea of departure may seem puzzling until we consider the following. Do not let your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you. For I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. When the Spirit takes John to the throne of God, he sees a lamb as though it had been slain in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 living creatures, and in the midst of the elders. A few verses later we read, Worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. In the very next verse we read, And every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth and such as are in the sea and all that are in them, I heard saying, Blessing and honor and glory and power be to him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb forever and ever. As we continue into the next chapter, we see that it's the Lamb who opens the seals. In Revelation 7, the great multitude from all nations stood before the throne, and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, and palms in their hands, having washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. It is the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne, and leads us to living fountains of waters. Revelation 13:8 tells us he is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. It is the Lamb who is seen standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written on their foreheads. And perhaps most important of all, we find the following. Then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. No doubt, passages like these have provoked the imagination in ways that have led to a great number of ideas portraying the Father and Son as unforgiving and tyrannical. Such words and phrases as wrath, tormented, fire and brimstone, and no rest day or night, along with our vivid imaginations, have created a fairy tale place of eternal torture that most will enter because they have failed in one way or another to accept Christ. Yet Peter said this, "Truly, I understand that God shows no partiality, but in every nation anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him." What is it about the symbolism of the little lamb that is so important? Perhaps the following helps us to understand it. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. What is the message of the cross? Self-sacrifice. What did Jesus exemplify? Self-sacrifice. When is self-sacrifice most needed? Right here and right now. The throne, the seals, the 144,000, the great multitude, the wine of the wrath of God, the torment of the fire and brimstone, the no rest day or night, are all wrapped in the sacrificial nature of the little lamb, of the one whose love for us far exceeds that of human affection. We need to do a 180. Despite the huge popularity and acceptance of the doctrine of eternal torment, the Father and Son are not in the torture business. Now, let us look once more at the following. He himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Despite what some may think, this is not a picture of Christ and the angels standing around hell and rejoicing over the torment of lost souls. The wine of the wrath of God denotes the working of God's law in the earth, while the phrase full strength into the cup of his indignation expresses the fact that he shows no partiality and his law is sufficient to judge every soul. The fire and brimstone refers to the second death of the lake of fire, the message of the cross, which expresses the spiritual nature of God's law, which is love. Self-sacrifice torments self-absorption. Unconditional love torments conditional love. Righteous anger is fair, impartial, and most of all, beneficial. There is no rest day or night when we walk in the pride and prejudice of the carnal nature and carnal mind. Reality testifies quite readily to this fact. Rest is the absence of conflict where it is most needed, in our hearts and minds. Let us therefore strive to enter that rest so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience.